Wagwan, everyone. I hope you're doing well and welcome back. Welcome back to a Premier League preview show. It has felt like a long time. I know it's been 2 weeks or a week and a bit, but I'm glad that Premier League football's back. I really am. I miss it. I miss it so much. And I'm here with my you-know-who, the wonderful co-host in my brother Edmin as well. How you doing, bro? Are you glad it's back?
Oh, yeah. International football, unless it's a tournament, can get lost for me. So, definitely glad it's back. Especially as we lost the week before. And then the second week, even match of the day was 2 or 3 games light, wasn't it? So, really happy it's back.
Exactly. Yeah, it feels like a while since we've had all the games back. And, with what's happened and with the games being postponed, it's kind of thrown us a little bit out of rhythm. It's kind of given us that little bit of, COVID times when the games are being postponed. And this was only last year as well, those things.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a bit of uncertainty, and there was uncertainty for this weekend's fixtures due to the train strikes. But it looks like it's all going ahead. I'm sure that we would have had info by now if those games weren't. So, let's not even talk about that. Let's just talk about them as if they're happening. And then if it changes, I'm sorry. But
if it changes, we'll do it all over again whenever the games get rescheduled.
Exactly. But this weekend is Derby weekend itself. So many local derbies or rivalries going into this weekend. Of course, we've got on the thumbnail Arsenal versus Spurs, North London derby, the Manchester derby between Manchester City and Manchester United, the East Midlands derby between Leicester and Nottingham Forest. When me, Moss and Wilf went to the Arsenal versus Leicester game, literally right next to us, the Leicester fans were singing Forrest get battered everywhere they go. So there's another derby right there. Crystal Palace versus Chelsea. That's another it's another London derby. And then I'm trying to think, is there any more? You got the W derby between West Ham and Wolves.
A poor form derby, I think we can probably call that.
Yeah, true. Yeah. El Sakiko. Possibly. Yeah. Nah, we'll get into that. But the big up each and every one of you that's watching live right now. Let's see who's in the chat. Let's see who's in here. Big up to yourself, David. Hope you're keeping good. Big up yourself, Mama G in the place. Nice seeing you in here. Hope you're keeping well. Nice seeing you, Mama. Big up Moss in here as well, saying office is busy. Well, big up yourself, man. Yeah, get your predictions in. If you're not used to this show, it's your first time watching. This is a Premier League preview show where you guys get your predictions in to the comments at the end of this stream. Or if you're watching it back as well, you can come in, join in our Discord server. We'll have a template ready for you, but you got to make sure you get your predictions in before the first game of the weekend, which is, of course, Arsenal versus Spurs. Big up yourself, and talking about the big match too. Derby's all over the place. Big up yourself, Red Devil Yannick. Hope you're keeping good. Hope you're looking forward to your Derby Day weekend, as well as Paxton in here. Arsenal talk for 5 hours. Can't wait. Sounds like a bit of sarcasm there, but we'll get into your game for about another 2.5 hours as well. Don't worry indeed. Big up yourself, Errol. Nice seeing you in here.
We got definitely the first 2 games too, aren't they?
What? Oh yeah,
definitely doing those 2 first. Yeah, the 2 big derbies, definitely, right?
Yeah, for sure. Don't you worry about that. Big up yourself, Wesbird, as well. Hope you, Mr. W, are keeping well, and everyone else that is watching back or watching now. And tune in. Get your popcorn ready. Get your pens and paper or your fingers on the keyboards as we get talking about this weekend's set of fixtures. And we have to start, even if it was in chronological order. I'm not doing it in chronological order. I'm doing it based on the biggest derby. Ed, before you go and talk about your records and stats, quick fire now, yeah? Which one's the bigger derby?
Yep.
Arsenal versus Spurs or Manchester City versus Man United?
Oh.
It's a tough one.
Arsenal Spurs. That's been a more top flight derby for longer. Let's not gloss over the fact Man City were in the doldrums for a very long period of time.
Yeah.
And even in the 70s, where Man City were actually technically a better team than Man United for a few years and stuff, that where it was kind of reversed. Whereas Arsenal Spurs has tended to be a more top flight game. not necessarily, and this isn't a dig at Spurs fans, but not necessarily for Spurs having title chances, because they haven't really for most of my lifetime, but they've always been in and around, the top part of the top division, whereas Man City, it's very much recent history. And you could argue that Man United's greatest rival is actually Liverpool. So therefore that kind of demotes the rivalry between Man City.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And we've got Manchester United fans in Errol and Paxton both saying that as well. Big respect. And you know what? I agree. But I also think possibly I could be biased by saying that. Because, of course, it's between the two teams. One of the team I support. So it's nice to see you guys saying that as well. And probably gives me a bit more assurance that I'm not being biased in saying Arsenal versus Spurs. Because even when Spurs were rubbish, that game still meant a lot to both sets of fans. And when Arsenal were at the top, even then they were celebrating a 2-2 draw even though we won the league. You saw, so yeah, there's plenty of storylines.
I think if you were to ask a Man United fan, I reckon any Man United fan above the age of sort of 15 would probably say Liverpool was their biggest rival, and that for me, I think, just demotes the rivalry between City and United just that little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And Ed, you know what? We talk about the bigger rivalry first in between Arsenal versus Spurs in this one. Bring us the record and stats for this one. And hopefully you should be making me feel a little bit more confident. We'll see.
Yeah, you'll see. So XG there, guys, in the bracket. So Arsenal's very high at 2.58, meaning that in the game they should have around about 2.5 very good chances to score a goal. Spurs is almost one goal less at 1.56, and the average goal very much going with 3. However, it's a very mixed bag in terms of the form. We've got 3 losses out of the last 5 for Arsenal, with 2 wins for them, and this will be the 206th North London derby. And quick trivia tea: Spurs have won 54. How many games do you think out of those 206 have 205 so far have Arsenal won?
They've won 54. Let's say 70.
84.
Oof, that's what I like.
84.
Making me feel better. Come on. Let's go.
I think from memory, there's more draws than Spurs wins. I think that's the least common denominator in those. And if we look at the form quickly, Arsenal, 4 wins out the last 5 with just that 1 loss against Man United, I believe. And Spurs is 3 wins, a loss, and a draw. So that is the North London derby.
There we go, right there. And in terms of the injuries, guys, this is what I usually bring. There's some topics in this one for both sides, which is going to be interesting to talk about for sure. For Arsenal, the key injury, the players that are doubts or coming back or there's questions around them, we know for sure that Emile Smith-Rowe will be out. He's not expected to return until December after undergoing surgery a few days ago in his groin, what's been troubling him for a long time now, which is well over a year, I'd say. He picked up that injury towards December time last year, and it really hampered his second half of last season and the start of this one here. I think the main reason why he didn't go for surgery any sooner, for example, in the summer or towards the end of last season, is because of his chances of getting into the World Cup. We see players do this a lot. I'm sure, Ed, from watching football, when we've got a big tournament coming around, you see players carrying injuries and trying to plow through games, getting those injections in the knees, in the toes, in everywhere like that, wherever the injury is to try and help. And because he was knocking on the door of playing for England and, he made his England appearance first, his debut for them last season after impressing the first half, I think that's the big reason with Emile Smith-Rowe. Would you agree, Ed, in terms of that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. And sometimes you have to think greater good. But when the starry lights of a big tournament are ahead of you, it must be very difficult to say no.
Exactly. And so he had a damaged tendon in his groin, you see, and that's something that he was struggling with for a while. So he's finally getting that repaired now, and he will hopefully return in training in December. So yeah, hopefully speedy recovery for ESR. Big player, man, and he was key last season in big games. He's performed in North London derbies before. Let's not forget his talent, Arsenal fans. I know when injuries, things happen out of mind, absent and those things. But yeah, let's remember how good he is, and let's hope he gets back, and let's hope he gets over this now, and you can really start to put a run of games together. But in terms of other injuries, Cedric Suarez picked up another knock, so he's going to be out. Now the questions, these are the big ones. Zinchenko, whether he's going to be fit, they're going to have. Mikel Arteta says he'll have to make a decision. We don't know yet. And the same goes for Kieran Tierney. Picked up a hand injury during the international break. Apparently, he's meant to be okay. There's positive news surrounding him right now. And the big one is Thomas Partey, who had to miss both games. He dropped out of the warm-up for Ghana, of course, and missed the game against Nicaragua due to a knee injury. We're still not really sure yet on his fitness. We're hopeful that we're hearing. There's positive noises coming out for Partey and Tierney. Not really hearing too much about Alexander Zinchenko, though, which is worrying me. But the big one for me is Thomas Partey in that one there. And that's the injuries for Arsenal, the main ones there. For Tottenham, though, it's big for them. Dejan Kulusevski is a major doubt for this game, and it's going to be interesting because we might see Conte move to a 5-3-2 formation, go for 3 in the midfield, which is what a lot of Spurs fans have been asking for, and think because they want to get more control on the game and have a bit more stability. But maybe the injury to Kulusevski might force Conte's hand in that sense. Ben Davies, another one who's an injury doubt for this one, and it's all on the air. Who's unsure at the moment? If he's going to be fit enough to play? He's picked up a knee injury, so it's touch and go whether he's going to be fit. And another massive one is Hugo Lloris. So Hugo Lloris, another doubt, picked up a thigh injury, a quadriceps strain, in fact. And there's some big injuries there for both sides that really could affect and maybe make up your mind in a lot of these predictions for both sides. If we see certain key players come in, for example, for Arsenal, Thomas Partey, you're looking at Spurs in Hugo Lloris, maybe that will change a lot of your predictions. So it's a sticky one at the moment for both sides. But Ed, in terms of this North London derby, I think this game, I think it's quite a foregone conclusion how the game is going to play out. Arsenal are going to be the ball dominant side. Spurs are going to try and hit us on the counter attack. This is what they've done against worse sides than us, and that's how they did it against us even at their ground last season. They sprung us on the counter attack, and we were naive in certain situations, getting our men sent off, and really it's kind of like similar to how we played against Manchester United this season. I can see how the game is going to pan out, but do you see the game panning out that way? And how do you think this game is going to end up?
I definitely see it panning out that way. I think what we know about Conte is that he's not overly fussed if his team doesn't have the ball. And what we know about Arsenal and Arteta is he wants his team to have the ball. So, yes, I definitely see it that way. But also you've got sort of the home factor for Arsenal, which is big as well. A crowd's not going to want, a home crowd is not going to want against your bitter rivals for you to cede possession of the ball to play some counter-attacking football, especially not with sort of the Arsenal brand of football where it's good passing, it's holding onto the ball, it's dominating a game, it's getting your wingers into it. And so it definitely is that. And I think that Spurs, like you talked about, their tactic is very much to hit on the counter. It is very much to play without the ball and be efficient in the box and be efficient in that final third. So that is definitely the way I see this going. And I would argue that I think even if it was at White Hart Lane the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I think that would still be Spurs' best chance with the players they have.
Yeah, I understand and I agree. I think that's how the game is going to go. And for me, I feel this game is a test for both sides because Arsenal have had a really good start to the season, and we are top of the league. And a lot of outsiders are expecting, this is good for Arsenal, but let's see when you face against the big boys, when you play Tottenham.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, if Arsenal win this game, it won't surprise many because of the form going into the derby, especially for the home side winning these games. So that's why I think there's more pressure on Arsenal to win this game. Whereas Spurs, a lot of Spurs fans are saying they'd be happy to take away a draw. And if Spurs manage to put up a decent performance and grab the win in this game, it would be a huge statement for them. I think it would be a big statement, but in terms of a statement victory, I'm looking at next week's game, Arsenal against Liverpool, as a statement victory. This one, I'm very confident. I'm not going to lie. I'm very confident in how this Arsenal team is going to perform, how they're going to set out, and being at home with the atmosphere that's been there. I've seen a massive change even from when I first went in 2008 to now when I went this year. Big up yourself, Moss. And when I saw that, like, it was crazy in the atmosphere. The Ashburton Army, which is our like ultras now, that all wear black. We're getting a tifo out before the game, and there's a different atmosphere around the whole club in general, and we're seeing a different team on the pitch. That's why I'm feeling a lot more confident going into this game, of course. But you know what? I drafted this idea to Ed earlier, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments and getting them in, and any contentious ones. But we're going to do a combined 11, a quick one. So let's settle on a formation for this. Are we going to go 4-3-3?
Yeah, 4-3-3.
4-3-3. Ed, who are you going for your goalkeeper?
Lloris.
Why? What's your reason for that one? Because I think this is one of the contentious. This
is contentious. I wouldn't be unhappy either way. I'm just going for the longevity at the moment. Ramsdale is still sort of a season and a bit of top level Premier League football. Obviously, he's played outstandingly for teams that got relegated that weren't really his fault. Lloris, obviously, World Cup winner, captain, steady. I think slightly, not necessarily underrated, because obviously he's been at Spurs for a while, and I don't know if you can be underrated and be a World Cup winning captain. But I would go with Lloris.
Yeah, I can understand that. Career-wise, you're going to go for Lloris. If I'm picking today, who I would rather have as my goalkeeper, I'm saying Ramsdale for what I would want my team to play. So it's one of those ones. It's a sticky one. I'm going to back. We'll settle on Lloris. We'll settle on Lloris there. So in the back four, I'm going to go with the centre backs position. You've got to go with Saliba and Romero for me. I think that would be an excellent partnership, by the way. Aggressive centre back. Yeah, really good defender. You got they'd work extremely well. Saliba and Romero. What would you agree with that centre back?
Yeah, that's who I'd have gone with.
Right back. Bit interesting now. In terms of the player that I prefer, I'm going to go with Tomiyasu. That's someone I really rate, and I think he will get back into the side, and he will stake his name in the first team in that position. I'd go with Tomiyasu. Spurs, they've got Emerson Royale. I mean, he's not bad defensively. Going forward leaves a little bit to be desired. A lot. I mean, not a little bit. And left back, interesting. I'm not too sure who I'd go with at left back. I would go with Kieran Tierney because I like his stability going forward and defensively.
As a left back, you probably can't go for Perisic either, can you? So
it's true. Left wing back, it's a good shout. So, but at left back, I'll go Tierney. Right back, Tomiyasu. Would you agree? Would you maybe throw Matt Doherty in there?
No. The only other one potentially is Zinchenko, isn't it? As at left back, but no, I think I'd go with Tomiyasu and Kieran Tierney. They'd be my starting right backs and left backs out of those.
Well, at the midfield now, this is where it gets interesting. And it'd be nice to hear your thoughts because I've got to go with Partey on his day, but he's always injured, so maybe you'd go for more consistency if you're going to go for Højbjerg. Consistency in the performance. Then you've got Ødegaard for me. He's in there. I know when Will watches his back, he's going to be like, oh, but you put in Ndombele last season ahead of Ødegaard.
People can change their mind.
Exactly. I've changed my mind, definitely. Ødegaard in there. And then I'm going to go with, it's difficult, man, because Bentancur or Xhaka. Oh, Xhaka's been phenomenal this season. But Bentancur, since he's come in, he hasn't really put a foot wrong for Spurs. What? I'll let you make that decision there. But who are you going with in the three in the middle?
So my three in the middle, I went for Højbjerg, Xhaka, and Ødegaard.
Okay. Oh, I'm happy to settle on that.
Availability and consistency again.
Yeah. I can hear that. I can have that. We'll go with that one there. And then the front three, I think that right side is always a contentious one between Saka and Kulusevski. I'm going Saka.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going Saka, of course, and then Kane and Son has to be.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair one. I could go completely or tribal and just go for Arsenal. That's a fair one. I think we've done a good job with that. Let me know if you're happy. There, guys, look at this. Paxton saying T, very happy. Ed chose Xhaka. You are right.
I've been choosing Xhaka for years.
Yeah. Do you know
even when Arsenal fan TV was Arsenal fan TV and popping off at him every week, I was always saying there's a player in there.
I can vouch for that. I will back Ed here. He has been vouching for Xhaka for time. For like before I started this YouTube thing, for way longer. Even before me, I'd say I like Xhaka, but I was like, he's a liability, and he's done that. But Ed was the one who told me. He showed me that he's a liability because of the team around him. So big up to Ed for that one. He saw Xhaka, and everyone knows how much I love him now. But what about your prediction for this game now, Ed? Now the nitty gritty. What are you going to go with?
I'm between two scores. I'm between Arsenal 2-1 and a 1-1, but I'm going to go for a 2-1. I'm going to go for a win for Arsenal 2-1.
That's what I like to hear. Do you know what? I did say I'm feeling confident, and I am, and my prediction will show it. I'm going for a 3-1 Arsenal win. I can't see us not conceding a goal up against this strong attack for Tottenham. I will break it down tactically for you guys. Don't worry. But as you can see in the chat, there is a poll that's going on at the moment between what would you prefer for me to do on the weekend, to do a watch along or a match reaction? So far, the watch along is winning the poll, 55%, whereas the match reaction has 45. Quick maths right there. So let me know, guys, which one would you prefer? And you know what? I'll go with what the people are voting for. The people. I got to represent the people. So, I think a 3-1 Arsenal win, Spurs counter-attack, but the first goal is always key in these games. But even then, I still feel that Arsenal have enough now to try to break these sides down. I was worried last season whenever we didn't score the first goal. Our stats and records show that. And I think the only side we beat after conceding was... Was it Ed?
Shut up. And you celebrated my damn house after eating my damn food on my big screen.
Exactly. But yeah, so that was the only time last season. So I think we could do it even if we did go down early. So I'm backing Arsenal with a 3-1 victory right there. Guys, we're going to move on.
For me,
what were you going to say? Sorry.
I think there's a little bit of delay. I think it might be my internet. Just this is the litmus test, I think, for me on both of these managers and squads where they are. I think there's going to be a lot in this game. I think it could be a little bit cagier than we think. But that was my last thought I was going to say on it.
Yeah, I do see what you say. Honestly, if Arsenal win it, I don't think that the people who really criticise him, Arsenal, non-Arsenal fans, would be surprised. In that sense, whereas it's the Liverpool game for me that I'm looking at, and that's the real test where people are going to go, all right, let's see how Arsenal are now. Can they perform at home against Liverpool? We know against Spurs, even when Arsenal were rubbish and Spurs were better than them, Arsenal always managed to put on a performance at home in a derby. The old adage goes, form goes out the window in local derbies. So yeah, I don't think that's entirely true, but I do think that is going to happen. Let's see what you're saying in the chat now, guys, with the live predictions that we have here. David has gone for a 2-2 draw, which is the same as Paxton as well. Red Devils gone 4-1 Arsenal. I hope Jesus for FPL points. Thank you for reminding me. I need to adjust that tomorrow. Wild cards out there now. Wild cards are out there. Wes Bird saying in terms of the rivalry, Man United versus Liverpool, I still think is one of the biggest rivalries. Moss says Arsenal winning by 2-1 against Spurs, but he thinks Richarlison and Jesus will score. Well, I don't know. He's just saying, he's just bringing up Richarlison and Jesus, in fact. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts afterwards. Get your predictions in the comments after the video as well. And only 25 to 30 minutes talking about Arsenal. Shocking. We got plenty of games to go through. That's why.
Yeah, we've got too much to talk about. That's why.
Exactly. And it's now the next side we're going to be talking about is your side, Paxton, as Manchester United are away to Manchester City in this Manchester derby that kicks off at 2:00 here in the UK on Sunday afternoon. Early kickoffs for both derbies. Do you think that's a policing thing?
Yeah. They're always slightly earlier, aren't they? And slightly less time for the bevies to get sunk. That's the biggest issue, isn't it?
They usually have them but maybe because it's both on the same weekend. They usually have one of them on a 4:30 Sunday kickoff. But yeah, I think they're probably being a bit cautious now. But yeah, Ed, hit us the record and stats here. You're going to make Man City fans feel more confident, or you're going to pep up United a little bit?
Well, I think when you look at the last 5 meetings, Man City have won 3 out of the last 5 with 1 draw and 1 win for Man United. Man City's XG is actually just slightly lower than Arsenal's at 2.57. Man United's is at 1.53, and goals are expected in this game, almost 4 goals expected. And if we quickly have a look at the form, Man City unbeaten in 5. They've won 4 out of the last 5 with just that 1 draw. And for Man United, their form is almost the same, but instead of that draw, it was a loss. So Man United and Man City have both won 4 out of the last 5.
You know what? That XG stat, he brought a tear to my eye. Arsenal having a better XG than Man City, he said?
Mm-hmm. By 0.01, but yes.
Bro, it could be 0.001. We've come a long way, we have. But we're not here to talk about Arsenal anymore. We're here to talk about the injuries and suspensions for both sides. And for Manchester City, there's 3 main ones. Of course, we know with Calvin Phillips went under with shoulder surgery, which there's no return date, and hoping that he can be in time for the World Cup. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see about that. And another English Man City player that is going to be a doubt at the moment is John Stones, who has something wrong with his hamstring. They've been very vague at the moment, probably having to undergo scans and see specialists and see weighing up whether he might need to have surgery, or if he might just need to recover, or once again, when you have injuries close to a World Cup, there is a lot of vagueness and a lot of doubt surrounding them. I've seen it plenty of times. And these are things I take notice of because I'm a football freak like this, or a sport freak. But a positive sign for Manchester City is Aymeric Laporte, who is back in training, but he most likely won't be ready to start. May see him on the bench. I think it'll be a big plus for that Manchester City defence, who have been struggling at points this season. And we've seen that's probably been their biggest weakness, I'd say, in their side, is that defence. And missing Aymeric Laporte, who's a massive player for them. Oh, and for Manchester City, they must be hoping to get him back soon. For Manchester United, though, there is some... It's not great news, Paxton, and Man United fans, because we've got Marcus Rashford, who is a doubt for this game. He missed the international break due to a thigh injury as well. But it's touch and go whether he's going to be fit enough and ready to go in this one. And then we also know that Anthony Martial, there's no return date back on him. And the last time they spoke about him was on September the 7th. So it's still unsure surrounding him. Harry Maguire, who picked up a hamstring strain in the last 5-10 minutes or so against Germany, which you saw Harry Kane talking about, which has caused a lot of uproar for Man United fans. And, why are you playing Harry Maguire for the last 5 or 10 minutes in a dead rubber game against Germany when there's so many games going on? I can understand that. I can definitely understand that. And now he's going to be out for this one. And yeah, those are the main injuries right there. Ed, with this game, I think it's an interesting one because Man City is still definitely the favourites. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not as a foregone conclusion as if we was to predict this game, let's say 3 months ago, I would say, because Manchester City aren't controlling the game as much as they did, as much as they have done. I'm not quite sure what the reason is for that. Maybe it's because they're usually slow starters within a season anyway. Haaland being in there means that they lack a little bit more control, but are more deadly going forward when they do get chances. Possibly that could be the reason. That's what I'm looking at and possibly seeing. When I'm also looking at Manchester City, that defense, it looks a lot more vulnerable. Kyle Walker's not been as sharp this season. João Cancelo, I've always had doubts on him defensively going that way. But whenever I bring up João Cancelo, I do not hear anywhere near as much about João Cancelo defensively as I do about Trent Alexander-Arnold. But these top managers can continue to play them because of what they bring going forward and the attacking outlet. And then the centre-back, I don't think you can pick Manchester City's best centre-back partnership, which in their title-winning seasons, I think it was another foregone conclusion in that sense. We had Stones and Diaz at one point, Laporte and Diaz last season, and then even before that, you had Laporte and Stones in there. Mm-hmm. So how do you think this game's going to go? I've kind of talked down about Manchester City, but what would you say about Manchester United going into this game as well?
I think the biggest difference for Man United now is Ten Hag, isn't it? There are plans that are being put into practice. It's a bit like when we talked about England at the weekend. Like, they're not just sort of 11 players being told to go out there and express themselves. There's a plan behind what they're doing and how they're doing it. And that, for me, I think is where the major difference is. Obviously, some good signings. Martinez coming into the Premier League. He seems to be settling down every game he plays. Casemiro, how many, UEFA Champions Leagues do you need to win before you just, classed as some kind of European legend? Obviously, Brazilian starter, etc. Another great signing. Ten Hag's had the bottle to put Cristiano to the bench when he needs to for different games. And Maguire, which is not what Southgate's done. He's not taking him out of the limelight. I think the biggest difference for me that you can see is, it sounds very basic, but there appears to be tactics and plans, and there's something behind what they're supposed to be doing now. It's not sort of individuals dragging them through games, or Ronaldo, like he was last year, sort of dragging them through with some virtuoso sort of goal scoring, not necessarily performances, but goal scoring. And as we talked about in our season preview and touched on it the other week with Matt, Man City's defence is probably the worst that we've seen it in sort of the Pep, big money era, really. So there are potential issues that way. And I think you're spot on. Just quickly on Man City, I think the major difference in their lack of control compared to what they've done previously is the fact they're hitting Haaland and hitting him early, which is a brilliant tactic. Look at what he's doing. But that does mean that you are getting rid of the ball a lot quicker. So when you hit that front man and you hit them quick, that's obviously 20, 30 seconds of build-up play where you've pulled players out of positions and moved the ball around and got people out of their zones of impact. So that is the difference, isn't it? I mean, you saw last week with, not last week, it was last week, wasn't it? The Wolves versus Man City. The amount of times they just hit Haaland and his goal came from something like that. He even took his strike early, on his right foot, catching people out. It's the speed that they're doing things now and getting back to front is probably 20, 30% faster now. And if you think about that, that just means there's less minutes being eaten up in possession, which is what you would usually associate Pep Guardiola teams to be.
Exactly that. And the fact that Manchester United are harder to beat now with Eric Ten Hag and how he set the side up, and with the players that are in there, we're showing a lot more aggression. You know, Scott McTominay started a lot of games. He's not thrown Casemiro in, saying, you know what, let's just go. We need you. We signed you a 5-time Champions League winner. No, he's trying to get him to build, and he's trying to build a system. It will take him a while. I don't think you'll see the anywhere near the foolproof of it, Manchester United fans, at any point this season, because it does take a while to build these things. And you might see it for 25 minutes, 45 minutes in games, and then suddenly drop off. This is things that I've seen and I've watched with other sides as well. It's hard to build those things quickly. And the final point is, I do agree. This is the worst defense that Pep Guardiola has had since his first season, I'd say. So it's very interesting that point. We did a combined 11 for the Arsenal Tottenham one. We're going to do another one for this Man City Manchester United game. I think this one probably a little bit easier. But another contentious one is the goalkeeper again. Ederson or De Gea? I'm going Ederson for me.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, it's not contentious between us, but Man United fans and a lot of people going with David De Gea, not for me, because people say he's a better shot stopper. Is he really? Faces more shots than Ederson, I'd say. And when Ederson is facing shots, they're usually higher quality chances because with City's high line, it's in that sense. Back four, we're going to go over with 4-3-3 again.
Yeah, 4-3-3 again.
Both sides are seeming to play it. Back four, right. Who are you going at right back? Kyle Walker or Diogo Dalot? Form is Dalot.
Right now, Dalot, because of the form.
If we immense. Ridiculously good. And he's even carried over that form into the international break. Yeah, it's difficult. Right now, definitely Dalot. Career-wise, definitely Walker. Where are we going to go? If it's a cup final tomorrow, who are you playing?
Dalot.
There we go. Let's go with Dalot then. Centre-backs. Interested again? Are you going to go with Varane and Diaz? Are you going to go with Martinez? I honestly, I don't think it's easy for Manchester City. No. Are you going to go with I'm going Varane and Diaz, me.
Yeah, I think that's what I'd go with.
Although, I do think it would be interesting to see Diaz and Martinez.
That's a very aggressive centre-backs. That would be...
Yeah. In a Pep side, in a Pep back four. I think that would work well. But yeah, let's go Varane and Diaz.
And left back's easy. That's Cancelo.
Yeah. Well, fair play, Malacia. He's had a good start, but it's Cancelo, isn't it? Midfield, I think I'm going to go with an all-three Manchester City midfield. Rodri, De Bruyne, and Bernardo Silva. Shout out to Eriksen. He could get in. No one else. Casemiro over Rodri. 5 Champions Leagues, whatnot. But stylistically, I'd rather have a Rodri personally.
It's that three.
Yeah. And then the front three, you got to go with Haaland up top. Left wing, you're going to go... He's Foden. It's not...
Yeah.
They're good players, don't get me wrong. Rashford's had a good start to the season. I know he's probably performed better when he's played up top, though, when he's had space to run in behind, like against Liverpool and Arsenal. But I'm going to go with Foden. I'm going to go Haaland, Foden, and on the right wing, Mahrez.
Yeah, the only one there for me is I'm not overly convinced about Mahrez, but then
Man
who
United,
do you bring in?
Sancho,
Sancho, who's been Sancho's still very much finding his feet. Even we're getting more of the Dortmund Sancho that we know that we can get. But I think right now, I think it is.
I think United have done well to get 2 players in there, and it's been at the defence. And once again, it just kind of shows you how poor that that Man City's defence has been this season so far. But what are you saying about your prediction for this one, bro?
I think I'm going for a little bit of a mini upset. I'm going to go with them with a 2-2 draw. 2-2
draw. Arsenal sitting pretty at the top. I'd more than take that. I'd be happy.
There's something about this Man United team now, and I'm still not overly convinced about Man City's back line. And if there's one thing that you can say about Martinez, and jury's still out for me until I've seen him play a lot more, but he's going to be well up for this fight against Haaland, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. Definitely a yellow card. Definitely.
Oh yeah.
I hope you're right, and I can't believe I'm saying that with the Manchester United game. I hope they actually perform well and get something and be happy at the end of it. More for our own good, really. I just want to see more cracks and more those things for Manchester City, maybe to give a little bit of hope for the dream, for the dream scenario. I don't think would happen, but Leicester season possibly with a World Cup year could be a weird one. Possibly. But yeah, I'm getting too ahead of myself. I think Man City are going to win this. I think they're going to win it 2-0. I know that sounds pretty convincing. I don't think it's going to be as convincing. I think Man United fans will probably come out of that and think, you know what, we put a good showing of ourselves, especially compared to last year. But I just think the Haaland factor, and I think it's going to be a bit too much for Manchester United. And the Manchester City being at home, I think they'll have enough. But yeah, 2-0, and Ed's gone for a 2-2 draw there. Let's see what you're saying in the chat, which is, hey, Ed, are you stealing Paxton's, bro? Yeah, I mean,
no.
Paxton
always speaks with his heart. Remember,
true. You're already getting, allegations thrown at you by Moss for fudging the numbers and whatnot, and now copying Paxton's. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. Big up yourself as well, Brush. Let me know how you're feeling about this game. This game is going to be another interesting watch as the first real rebuild I've committed to fully. I just want to see what we can do defending against Haaland, etc. Yeah, I understand. It's all about how you can do throughout the majority of the game, because if Haaland goes and pops up and scores, I don't think you can stop that. There's not too many things you can do. But if you're giving Haaland chance after chance, then that's more of a worry. And how you're setting up defensively. But I think you're harder to beat now. I really do. Red Devil Yannick's definitely, you know what? It might be going with his head or heart. Most likely heart. With a 2-1 United win. Definitely with his heart. With a Cristiano Ronaldo goal and Sancho. But Haaland to score as well. I can't see. Oh, would Ronaldo... You know what? I forgot. Ed, are you still going to go with the 2-2 draw if Ronaldo plays up front instead of Rashford?
The Rashford factor was the only. I think Vibes has put it in there in the chat a bit later down. I think what did he say? It's sticky still. Yeah. That is the only thing. The Rashford stretching the back line is going to be very different to Ronaldo up front. But yeah, I'm just going to go with it. For some reason, I'm feeling a draw. But Man City are a different beast sometimes. And if they do anything like what they did against Wolves, obviously Man United are a much better team than Wolves currently and in much better form. But when you couldn't get that sucker punch right at the start, who knows where you could end up. That's the thing. You can't lose your head if you let an early goal in.
It's true. You're right. You're spot on. You are spot on indeed. And Wesbur's saying, so in terms of a top 4 challenge from an Arsenal point of view, I think we need a Man City win, as Man United will challenge us for that top 4 place, whereas Man City are a guarantee if we are honest. Interesting. Man United fans, what would you say about this? Do you think you can finish in the top 4? I know you want to compete for it. That would be a good season. A bit like, when you're looking at it from hindsight with Arsenal, we had a good season last season to compete for that top 4 spot. When we weren't expected to. Yeah, but Westford, it's sport. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. If Man City can continue to drop points, I can dream. All right. But if Man City win and go on a roll like I expect them to, then, top 4 is for Arsenal. But let a boy dream, yeah? Let a boy dream. Harry Maguire from the bench to not be involved, however, involved how we will ever live without him. Exactly. It's true. I couldn't even get it out, man. You know what I mean? David Lee's gone for a 3-2 Man United win. I think Arsenal, and Luca's putting in his Arsenal prediction in there. Big up yourself each and every time, and he's voting for a watch along as well. Big up yourself, Luca. Big up yourself, re-listen here, saying let's go, Ed. Big and the EOP, enemy of progress, he calls me. EOP. And it'd be a progress, Tereak. Man City are vulnerable at the back and you can score against them, but they have Haaland. It is indeed big up yourself vibes as well. Hope you're all keeping good. Do a match reaction. Yeah, it's early still. Yeah, guys, let us know. Let us know in the vote. Let us know indeed. Good evening to yourself as well. Nice seeing you in here, Mr. 200, and everyone else that is watching and locked in live as well. Where's Bird letting me dream at the moment? And Red Devil saying, I think we'll be in the top 4 and go after Jude Bellingham and Ngakpo in the summer. David says 5th at best. I think we can come close, but we won't get top 4 this season. I kind of agree with you. I kind of agree with you as well, Pax, in that sense. And yeah, we've covered the 2 major derbies of this weekend as well. So it's nice to go through that. The next game that we're going to go through, let's go with Liverpool versus Brighton, in fact. And this is the 3 o'clock kickoff because this is massive in terms of Liverpool. If they can, I think this game will really tell us a lot about Liverpool at the moment in terms of, are they going to have this slump season, this transition season that a lot of people are writing them off and saying Liverpool are going to be fighting for the top 4 now? Or is it just that they had a blip at the start of the season with the amount of injuries and with the teams playing against each other in these rivalries? If Man City or Arsenal or anyone can drop points in those games, or both potentially, Liverpool can start to climb back up the table. And you know that game against Arsenal next week, it could be massive for them. But Ed, hit us with a record and stats going into this one versus Brighton and Hove Albion with their new manager, De Zerbi, in here as well.
Yeah, so maybe some good news for Liverpool fans if you are watching is that Brighton have only won 1 out of the last 15 games against Liverpool. And if we look at that XG there, that is ridiculous at 2.97 for Liverpool, at 1.44 for Brighton, and the average goals, as you'd expect with those XGs, 3.67. Of course, we're only sort of 8-9 games into the season, so the sample size can be a bit small. The form for Liverpool, 3 wins, a loss and a draw in the last 5 games. A couple of those wins were sort of wins towards the end of the games against Newcastle and obviously in the Champions League last time. Brighton, 4 wins out of the last 5 with that 1 loss, but of course they are without the magnificent G Potter now, so it'll be interesting to see how they go. And yeah, the last 5 meetings between the 2 teams is ticking along there at the bottom with a draw, 2 draws, 2 wins for Liverpool and 1 win for Brighton.
I mean, that was quite interesting looking at that form because it was very mixed, wasn't it? I saw wins, losses, and draws, 2 draws in there as well. So yeah, it will be interesting. This one is at Anfield. Last time these 2 teams played, of course, it was that 2-2 draw where Liverpool went 2-0 up and drew. And thinking about it, they lost the league by 1 point. So that was probably one of the games they really had massive regrets about. In terms of the injury front, it's looking better. So we know Thiago is back, but there are still some injury doubts going into this game. No Andrew Robertson at the moment. He's most likely not going to play. He's a major doubt. Of course, we still got no Ox, no Naby Keita either. But we could see the return of their big French centre-back who's going to be knocking on that door, trying to compete with our big French centre-back. And theirs is Ibrahima Konate. So he's back and he returned back to training at the start of September. So it's going to be interesting. Maybe that could solidify Liverpool's defence, which has certainly been leaky in a lot of games this season. But maybe once again, is that the midfield being the big reason? That's what I think it was. It could be as well. But we'll have to wait and see. In this game, it's going to be an interesting one. And for Brighton, it's looking all right on an injury front. Of course, their former Liverpool man in Adam Lallana, he's ruled out. He's not expected to be back, but maybe we're still waiting to hear more news, people. With an international break in between, it's quite hard to get these updates on players that picked up injuries before, because a lot of managers turn around and say he'll be available after the international break. So wait and see there. And the same goes for Enoch and Wepu as well. And those are 2 important players for this midfield of Brighton, which is going to be their engine room. And once again, we spoke about the weakness of Liverpool. They're going to be trying to attack in those areas there if there are any gaps or any weaknesses showing. Ed, massive game for Liverpool. But they are the favourites. But they are coming up against a decent side in Brighton who have got a new manager. Who a lot of people are excited by. Just doing a little bit of research on him because I'll be honest, I didn't have a clue who he was. I heard he was a good player when I was looking at my research when he was playing back in the day. But he's played expansive football at Sassuolo. He's made them competitive in the league. He went to Shakhtar, but because of the war, he then left. So he's a progressive manager, a lot in that mold of a Graham Potter. So maybe he can pick up from where Graham Potter left off and carry them through. But Ed, how do you see this game going?
Yeah, I think Realist has put a comment in there that I agree with. I think Liverpool need this performance now, don't they? They can't continue to underperform for too long before they become too far away points-wise from, those Champions League places. And let's not get this twisted. I know it's very early, but they are, with a game in hand, granted on a few teams, they are 4 points away from fourth already. So this is huge. This is huge for Liverpool. A performance is needed. All this chat about the players that they need to bring in. It's, we're 3 months away, 2 months away from the World Cup and then the transfer window opening again. So they need to deal with where they are now. I am edging towards a Liverpool winning this because I think Brighton, the only thing I know about this manager apparently is he loves to score goals and he's not overly fussed if he wins 4-3, 5-4. Apparently he's very expansive with his play. That's all I know from a few podcasts that I listened to. The extra week he would have had rather than Adam Lallana taking last week's game or the week before's game that he would have been, he's probably going to have helped sort of 10, 11 days on the training field with the players in and around the international break will have helped. But I think I am edging towards a Liverpool winning this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. My prediction for this one, I'm going to go with I think Liverpool are going to concede, but the home factor, the Anfield factor is going to be a big one. I'm going to go with a 3-1 Liverpool win in this game. It will be cagier. They'll go 2-1 up and then they'll be able to hit them on the break and maybe Salah gets a goal. And just a quick one on Salah, by the way. Don't worry, guys. We're not going to combine 11 for Liverpool Brighton. But have you got Salah in your FPL?
I have.
Are you keeping him?
He's near the chopping block.
He is. I think so. It's crazy to say, but Salah might be a differential at this point because I think a lot of people have chopped him. I took him out, but I might put him back in. I just want to be ahead of the curve. I don't know, man. We'll have to wait and see. But
it's scary because obviously next week you've got the Arsenal game, so you would assume a slightly harder game for him there. But if you look forward a few weeks, there's a Man City, Man United, no game week. So game week 12, there's a few teams that aren't playing, and I think Man City, Man United are two of those teams. So if you jump off Salah, your obvious first choice would maybe to go to KDB or someone like that, or save loads of money and put it in up front. But yeah, he's still in mine, but he's the first time he's been near the chopping block in about 4 seasons. So
is that our game, that game week 12 one where it's
it might be, I can't remember.
Yeah, because we went to play Man City then, but because of the PSV game. So yeah. Maybe, but that's the big talking point about Salah in that one. Brighton fans, Brighton up, Liverpool fans, Darwin Noodles, get better. Big up yourself, Martin, right there. I don't know why you're saying you can buy the goal and that is, big up yourself, Martin.
He never even played for Villa either. So
I know, exactly. If he played for Villa, Martin, I understand. It's Martin. But yeah, we got our predictions in here. Paxton and David both going with the Liverpool 2-1 victory right there. Paxton, has he gone for the goal scorers? He hasn't. What's this, Pax? You're feeling okay. But he says, I feel Brighton will slightly drop off for this game for some reason. Yeah, I think probably because you're thinking of the new manager change. If they had Graham Potter, I think it'd be a lot more interesting to see how they would set up. Big up yourself as well, Steffi. Nice to see you. She's bigging up all of you guys as well. I went for a 3-1. What have you gone for, bro?
Well, I wrote down 3-1, so I'm going to keep it.
Yeah. Tactics. He's playing the tactical game. I'm telling you. Oh, man. Martin's got his midfield. That is it's a risky midfield, that is. In terms of FPL points, it could work. It could massively pay off with Madison's.
There's a lot of money elsewhere you've got then. So you must have a Haaland and Kane up front, I'd imagine.
Yeah, Kane and Haaland. He's got to have Kane and Haaland up top. If you haven't, because that's what £6 million players in there.
Yeah,
you must be doing all right in terms of the money up top. But our next game that we're going to decide, I mentioned the Graham Potter. We're going to go back to the derbies, the London derby between Crystal Palace and Chelsea. This is a massive one as well for Chelsea, especially going away to Crystal Palace, a tough ground. You know what? Ed's going to run through the stats in this one before I take his shine away, because I was going to say something then about Chelsea's away form at Crystal Palace. But bro, you take it away.
Yeah. Wow. So if you look there, there's eagle-eyed fans. If you are in look away now, Palace's XG 1.74, Chelsea's at 1.8, and the average goals at 2.5. But the last 5 meetings are all wins for Chelsea, and it is actually 10 losses in a row for Palace against Chelsea in all competitions. So there's a big trend to book here for Palace this week at Selhurst Park. And if you see there that we'll look at the form quickly. Palace's form, 2 draws, 2 wins and a loss, not bad at all really. And Chelsea's form, bit up and down, with a win, a loss, and a draw. But the biggest stat to take away from this so far for me is it's 15 games in a row wins for the West London Chelsea side.
15 against Palace?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know it was that bad. Oh, okay. This isn't looking good. That might just play in my predictions right there. Paxton, no changing now, boy. No changing. In terms of the injuries front going into this game for the home side in Crystal Palace, we know that there isn't major injury news. Of course, no Nathan Ferguson, no Jack Butland. He could be back after his metacarpal fracture. James MacArthur, that's a big one for him, I'd say, helping bolster that midfield. He hasn't been fit for a while, in fact, so it's going to take him a while to get back to his best. James MacArthur and no James Tompkins as well. So no real major injury news for Crystal Palace there. We expect them to play there for Patrick Vieira to play his best team in this one. And there's good news for Chelsea, as they've had an extra long break. They've had nearly 3-4 weeks with Graham Potter there. N'Golo Kante's returned back to training, and Edouard Mendy is expected to be fit as well. So no injuries for Chelsea going into this one, going into a busy part of the season, which I'm sure Chelsea fans will be happy about. But we know in football, things can change quickly. Ed, now I'm going to let you start off with this one. Do you think Crystal Palace can end that barren run in this one against a weak Chelsea side? I'm sure this is probably the weakest Chelsea side not in terms of player quality, but in terms of a team that they faced in those previous 15 games.
Yeah, I think if there's a time for Palace to sort of stop that rot, surely it's now, when there's a new manager in, still getting used to it, in a team which seems to have quite obvious holes in it, despite 500,000 million pounds that was spent on Thomas Tuchel's signings. So it's set up for Palace at home. The cliche, Selhurst Park, always difficult to go to. When you call a team well organised, it always feels like a backhanded compliment, but it's not meant to be. When you're coming up against a team that is a bit in and out, like Chelsea have been, where they've sort of put in some decent performances, then lost to Southampton, what you might need there is the consistency that Palace can offer to break that mould. And obviously, these runs are there for a reason. And realistically, when you look at both teams' budgets, the history they've had in the last time Palace won was in 2017. And if you think about what Chelsea have done and spent in those last 6 years, obviously it pales into comparison with what, the difference in the team. So it's not like they are, it's not like they are both mid-table teams that, this anomaly is a bit strange. But this Palace team has some spark in it, and this Chelsea team was clearly lacking it. And whether or not Potter's had enough time to sort of gel the group together, get his ideas in, much better coach for me than Tuchel on the training pitch. I'd imagine his coaching, how he facilitates the game, will fit a lot of the players that Chelsea have. But obviously, there still could be a few round pegs in square holes and blah 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 and all the other cliches. So this might be the time. This might be the time for Palace to break this. I'm going to say that must be the worst run of between any two clubs in the Premier League that I've seen. Anyway, I've just double checked it to make sure it was true. And the last time they beat them, was in 2017, towards the end of the season, I believe, when maybe Chelsea had already knew where they were going to finish.
Crazy.
But you need to go on the predictions first on this one, because I think I've started all of them, apart from the last one.
I start from
the last one.
Okay. Oh, potentially you might be right. I haven't been tracking them, so I'm gonna go with it. It totally depends on which Chelsea team's going to turn up for me, because as you said, Palace are a well-organised side. We know what we're going to get from them, that physicality. We know they're going to be intense in their press, and they're going to try and attack and be very direct with Zaha, potentially Elise, Eze, good technical midfielders in there who can add a goal threat and that spark, as you said. I'm just basically repeating what you're saying whilst I'm trying to work out the prediction I'm going for.
It's difficult. This one's difficult.
Man, I'm sorry, Palace fans. I'm just gonna have to go with that run. I'm playing it safe. I'm gonna go with a 2-1 Chelsea win. I think they'll just edge it because of that run. Honestly, you can't predict Chelsea. You do not know what you're gonna get with them. They're like a box of chocolates, as the old saying goes. You don't know what you're gonna get. You might get a performance against Southampton or against Tottenham. We'll have to wait and see. But 2-1 Chelsea. Sorry, Palace fans. What about you, Ed? Are you going to go different now?
I am. So I already was, because I have written down every game apart from the Leicester Forest game now while we've been talking. So I'm going with the WOB one. I am going with that organisation. And maybe this is just one fixture too early for Potter to get his ideas across.
I feel like you're right now, Why don't I just sit on the fence? Oh, man, I can't go. I can't change now. I feel like you might be right, though. But 2-1 Chelsea, I'm going to go for in this one. And it's been quite split in the comments as well. Steffi saying, come on, Palace. Big up yourself, Niall. Nice seeing you in here as well. Big up yourself, bro. Hope you're keeping good. And he's saying, watch along, surely. Let me keep an eye on the poll, actually. What is the poll saying? 57% for the watch along. It's close, though. It's close. Oh, 52 now. It is close. It's a lot closer than I thought. Guys, make sure you get your votes in and tell a friend to get a vote in as well whilst it's still up there.
If it ends at 50-50, you've got to do both and you're in for a busy Saturday, right?
Hey, 50-50. You get both. Now people are going to do the math ain't mathing. You know what I mean? You need to get an even number there. And it's odd at the moment with 25, so make sure 26 or 28 or 30. Get more or 100. But Palace 1, Chelsea 0, says Paxton, which is David's gone for a 2-1 Chelsea win right there. I think really sit there thinking he's like, he don't know himself as well. Potter has to do some work, has some work to do with this side. And I don't think we will see results for a couple of weeks. Yeah, it's similar like what we're talking about Man United as well. I know you have picked up a lot of your results, but you can't have that expectation if you're going to go in a different direction as well. Big up Luke in here saying Palace are beating Chelsea by 3-1. He's definitely going with his heart when he says that. Your heart might be right. Follow your gut. Ed followed his gut with one of his predictions earlier in the Man City game, and you might be right there as well. Big up yourself, Luke. Hope you're keeping good. And thank you very much, Steffi. Really appreciate that. And each and every one of you who's smashed that like button and who's tuning in right now. You're all. You know what, TTF? You know I love you so much. I haven't been as with you as much in recent times, but I'm here with you, and I love enjoying and spending my time with you. Does that sound quite romantic there, Ed? Do you think?
A little bit.
Okay, that's all right. Yeah,
it's true though, isn't it? It's true though, isn't it? Because this is what we do, and we're not doing this for anything other than just we love doing it right now.
Just chatting with you guys and meeting new people as well. We love it. So yeah, we've done the Chelsea game. I went for a 2-1 win. Ed went for a 1-1 draw, which I think he's probably right in doing so. We'll move on into the next game, and we'll move on to your side actually, because this is a very interesting game for different reasons. You know, underperforming sides, both of them in West Ham and Wolves going into this game. Bit of pressure going on David Moyes, and pressure from outsiders rather than insiders at the club. Whereas Ed, if you haven't seen it, which one, the Premier League predictions video, he voiced that, and he voiced his concerns and his frustration with Bruno Lage. If you haven't seen it, I recommend to do so, because Ed got quite passionate there, and I love it. I love it, man.
Yeah. I think it's the first time I think I've ever called for a Wolves manager's head.
I've never heard you say that. Even Mick McCarthy days, and Terry Connor, I never heard you say that. So,
he didn't count. He didn't count. Bless him.
Nah. Of course not. But this one's a massive one at the London Stadium, and Ed, I hope this brings a little bit of a smile to your face.
Well, B&B's not in yet, and he's still going to say that I'm messing around with those XG stats. For a team that never shoots, how we've got a 1.92 XG is still beyond me. West Ham's at 1.11. Yeah. Well, 2 goal scoring opportunities. Two good goal scoring opportunities, but I don't remember us having shots. I do check. Wolves is the only one I check in different sites. One of them had our XG actually above 2, so I'm never using that site again. And then the last 5 meetings doesn't read well. West Ham winning 3 out of the last 5 with 2 wins for Wolves. And the form of both teams, pretty shocking, in all honesty. A couple of wins for West Ham there with a loss and a draw. And the same for Wolves, a couple of wins, 2 draws and a loss. And one of those wins for Wolves was the League Cup. And I think one of the wins for West Ham was also the League Cup. So that obviously adds a little bit of weight to the fact that the form is not great from probably arguably the 2 most underperforming teams of the season so far, if you take out the Leicester debacle.
Yeah, it's true. Exactly that. And Ed, when we get to the Wolves injuries, there's still uncertainty, so I'd like to hear what you're saying on that. With West Ham, though, they have struggled with injuries as well as Wolves at the start of this season, but it's starting to ease up on their front. Nair Fajard, their new big signing that they made, who had a very impressive first 45 minutes until he picked up that injury in pre-season, with a lot of West Ham fans being really excited about him. He's expected to return, but not for this game. So he's expected to return at some point in October, so that could be big for them. But we could see the return of Benjamin Johnson as well, the versatile fullback, who's also played at centre-back as well at some point this season. And then everyone else, as far as we're aware, is fit and ready and raring to go. With Wolverhampton Wanderers, though, of course, no Nathan Collins after his red card. Was that 3-game ban for Nathan Collins? Or was it 2?
No, I think it's 1. I think it's 2, sorry. I think it's 2. I think it's 2, but I will check.
Yeah. So Nathan Collins is out, suspended. Diego Costa, what's the news on him, bro? What's the latest you've heard?
I think at best he's going to be on the bench. I think from what's coming out of the, he's still very much unfit.
But what about the player who he's backup for in Raul Jimenez? Have you heard anything on him?
There's rumours he might not even go to the World Cup.
Serious? He's out. He's out for that long?
Yeah, there's some real. It's mixed messages. One says like it's some kind of knee complaint or knee strain. Then other people say it's chronic fatigue, and there are rumours around mental health issues as well, sort of depressed or things of that effect as well. So he's not been the same mentally, and I think you can see that In the red cards that he's picked up in recent seasons, sort of kicking the ball away and not knowing what to do and not knowing how to get off the pitch and stuff. He's not been right since the head injury, and he's had flashes of brilliance even. But he's not the player he once was, and there are rumours that he might not make it to the World Cup, but I'm pretty sure it'll take herds of wild horses, I think, to keep him away from playing for Mexico in the World Cup. So I reckon we'll see him sooner rather than later.
Yeah. That's hopefully, and you know what? It's kind of sad to hear because the level that he was at before that injury was ridiculous,
insane.
He was one of the best strikers in the league, hands down, and that's crazy.
He was the best. He was the best centre forward I've ever seen at Wolves. Bar remembering that, like, I was very young when Steve Ball was at the peak of his powers. So obviously 90s and 80s football very different to modern football, so quite difficult to compare. But hands down, no one's even remotely close to him in my almost 40 years of watching Wolves.
And for Ed to say that when he's watched Ebanks Blake play, that's real high praise.
Ebanks Blake had a bigger bum, I can tell you that much for nothing.
He had that good hold-up play, for sure, Lacazette style. So, of course, the two long-term injuries was their new signing as well in Sasa Kaladzic as well. So he's not going to return, and Chiquinho for Wolves. But Ed, I'll let you take the floor on this one. You've voiced your frustration, and you're finished basically with Bruno Lage. Is there a way that he can possibly try and win you back, and what would he need to do and show for that to happen?
Change something. The tactics. I think your counterpoint to my sort of rant the other day was, he has a lot of injuries and he's not had a centre forward since and all that kind of stuff. But I get that, and all of that is valid. But at some point, you have to play with the cards that you've been dealt. You can't keep playing, a card game and assuming you're going to win poker with a couple of twos. Do you know what I mean? You need to change what you're doing, and he doesn't. And there's a ridiculous heat map that I think I mentioned where you just see us have so much of the ball in the midfield and do this weird horseshoe where no one gets in the box, no one tries to take anyone on, and we start and reset. We've scored, 3 goals all season in the Premier League, and I think 2 of them were miss hits. So, that's my reason. I'd never heard of him. Obviously, he had one good season in Portugal before. He's obviously a Mendes man. He comes in and he says all the right things about wanting to play attacking football, changing things from the way Nuno did things. And he didn't stick to his guns last year, and now he is. And last year, arguably, probably had more players that could have done what he's expecting of them. We brought in our midfield is ridiculous. Why we aren't just doing more with that midfield, I don't know. We're still bypassing them too much. So there's still too many lumped balls forward to 5'4" Daniel Podence. Do you know what I mean? That's not fun to watch, let alone the fact we don't shoot. And obviously West Ham are probably not much better.
Yeah, it's difficult. And when you were saying that, the first thing that sprung to mind was, if you could really answer this question, you wouldn't be sat here right now. But what I honestly struggle to see with this current squad that he has, like what he can do in an attacking front, because I do think you are defensively better whilst trying to play some attacking football. You're not as good defensively as you were last season. I know he's trying to take it to a different style. Last season, I would say mainly in your midfield, you didn't have enough players to do that and the right profile to try and play what he's trying to do now. And then, with Sace and Cody, you're not going to play them in a back four together.
No.
Anyways, but it's really hard with that attacking lineup because, if Sasa Kaladzic came in and he was still performing like this and he was, he wasn't very good, then I think, you know what? I agree, Ed. His time's done. He's you have to move on. You can't stand still in football because if you stand still, you regress. But I really struggle to see the central attacking potency, a central figure. You don't even need a goal scorer. Lacazette was last season for us. He wasn't. He was nowhere near a goal scorer, and you saw that in his record. But he was just a focal point that you can play the ball to, bounce off, and get your wide players. You don't have that at the moment, and yet maybe he's tried the false nine. I saw it against Spurs, and when he was getting in and around the box, he was getting in some good, decent areas away from home against a decent side, but. Once again, that little bit of quality that was lacking, that killer instinct, that you just need in those situations. So that's why I have a little bit more sympathy. But once again, I will say it's football. This sympathy goes all out the window if the owners aren't happy, the results aren't there, and it's a results business at the end of the day. So
I think just on that, I think the sympathy I had for him was definitely there towards the end of last season, but when you are 1 win in 14 games, you need to try something different. There's no point just keep doing the same thing and expected something different to happen, and that for me is the issue. It's not that he hasn't had bad luck, it's not that he's a bad manager. I couldn't tell you if he is, because I don't think he's ever really had a clear run of games with players that he wants. But there are just some tactical things as well. Like last week, we lost Nathan Collins. He moved Neves back to centre-back and never changed it. So you're instantly taking our best player by a mile completely out of the game to fill in a gap when you have players on the bench that could have done that, could have done more. A worldy strike from Neves, who knows? But you're never going to get those opportunities if you... And then clearly he doesn't have faith in the centre-backs that he now needs to have faith in, because Nathan Collins is out for three games. I've just checked.
Yeah. You see, it's crazy, man. It's hard. It is hard, but yeah, it's one of them ones, because Wolves have brought him in for a style of football. You don't bring Bruno Lage if you want, just to grind out results. They brought him in to bring a specific style. If he goes back again and tries to play more conservative again and counter-attack, then you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, because we brought you in to do this. At least our fans, not Man City, Wolves fans got frustrated at that eventually, because I do think that football does begin to tire, especially if you go on a little bit of a bad run of form. I think the fact that Bruno's done so well is the reason why he's got this amount of time, 14 games without a win. That would not happen with Nuno's style of football, or if you brought in another manager that played that style. So yeah, a good football does buy you time, but only results will eventually do that as well. So yeah, it's difficult. Big up yourself as well, Rally. Nice seeing you in here, and he's agreeing with you, saying some things need to change, and there are top players in there like Neves and Neto. I totally agree in that sense, but the players to put in the back of the net, it's the hardest thing in football, and that's why Man City have got an absolute robot in Cyborg, and one of the best in the business at doing that. But yeah, a lot of love here for Raul Jimenez. Hope he comes back. Jimenez, still one of my GOATs, says Paxton as well. But in terms of your prediction, shall I go first again? And then we're easy.
You can do. Mine's written down, but we can do.
I'm going to go with a West Ham win. I'm going to go 2-1 West Ham. What about you, Ed?
I've gone for 1-1.
A 1-1 draw.
1-1.
Yeah. Would you be happy with that?
Yeah. Right now, we need to stop the rot. We need to pick up points. What we couldn't do last year under Bruno Lage was draw games. So we need to do more of that.
Yeah, exactly that there. We've got plenty of predictions in here already. We've got West Ham 0, Wolves 0. Agreeing with you in terms of the result, different scoreline. Paxton wasn't convinced of Bruno Lage as well. I remember that. I remember you saying that. West Ham 2, Wolves 1, and that's the same result as myself. I didn't even see your prediction when you said that, but Rally's also gone for a 2-1 as well. Exactly. I never saw anything in large. Always said it. Hate to say it, but Ed, I told you so. Draw West Ham versus Wolves, says Wesbird. Yeah, Rally says it's going to be a close. It definitely will be a close game. Having said that, I remember I said it was going to be a close game, and I remember, was it West Ham beat you 4-0 at one point? Was it 4-0,
Yes.
4-1?
Yeah. 4-0. I think it was.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not going to be that, because if that happened, then the pressure would be there. Yes, I do know.
I think he's gone if he loses.
Oh, potentially. So, Sace has gone. Yeah, I do know that. Yeah, he's gone to Besiktas for free. That's why I mentioned him and Cody, because they're both not there anymore. Great players and great servants for Wolves, but in terms of what they're trying to build Wolves to, I think that's why they've gone. And Connor Cody wanted guarantees, and gets a chance to move back home to Liverpool as well. Interesting one there. So let's move on. You know what? We're going to group some of these games. We're going to group a couple of these games together as well. Let's go with Southampton versus Everton and Bournemouth versus Brentford together.
Okay. So we'll start with Bournemouth versus Brentford. I think this is the first ever top flight game between these two teams. The form there at the bottom doesn't read well for Bournemouth. The only thing is that win was the playoff final. So that's obviously huge for them. Their Bournemouth's XG 0.67, Brentford's at 1.44, and the average goals at 2.67. Bournemouth's form, 2 draws, 2 wins and a loss. Not bad, considering sort of people have been writing them off for a while. Brentford's 2 draws, 2 wins and a loss. So again, the exact same results, just in a slightly different order. And then if we find, if you bear with me while I find the Southampton game, wherever I put it. Southampton versus Everton. We have that there. So that's Southampton's XG at 1.54, Everton's at 1.22. Average goals is also at 1.22, so not expecting very much from this game. Last 5 meetings, 2 wins for both and a draw. And Southampton have 3 losses and 2 wins in the last 5 games. And Everton actually unbeaten in 5.
There you go. Matty Smith, where are you? Big up Everton, man. They've done a very good job so far. But in terms of the injuries front for the first game in Bournemouth versus Brentford, we know that Joe Rothwell, he could be returning their new signings. That could be a big plus for them. They didn't make many signings, but he was one of the key ones that they did bring in there. And then, of course, the big one. There is no return date as of yet, because he did suffer a setback. If you was watching the shows with David Brooks, we've been keeping a keen eye on his return and hoping that he can get back as soon as possible. But there has been a slight setback. He's having some pain in his hamstring, so there is no return date. It was originally in October, but yeah, still no return date for David Brooks as yet. But hopefully he can come back soon. And the big one for Bournemouth is Lloyd Kelly, and he won't be available, which is a huge blow. He's one player that I'd actually take. And that's something crazy, because I really do like Lloyd Kelly. I think he's a decent player. And he's versatile, can play left back, centre back. I think he's done a good job in the Championship, but Premier League, next level. Brentford, though, of course, we've got the big man himself in Christian Norgard, still not expected to be back. However, good news, Ethan Pinnock is back in training, but we'll need more consistency right there in training as well. So the injury news for Everton that I've got here is the big blow of Nathan Patterson. He's expected to be out for the next 4 to 5 weeks. He's been a very good performer for Frank Lampard in at that right wing back position. The injury load isn't getting any better for, it has improved, because Jordan Pickford is back and he only ended up missing 1 game in the end, which is good after his thigh injury. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin finally could return. He is due to have a late fitness test for this game against Southampton. But yeah, still quite a few players missing, the likes of Godfrey, Mina, and Holgate as well in there. And then for Southampton, the home side in this game, no real new injury news. Tino Livramento out, and so is Romeo Lavia, who could return in the next few weeks. But Ed, Bournemouth versus Brentford, what are you saying in terms of this one here, in terms of your prediction?
Yeah, my prediction is for this game, Bournemouth to lose 2-0 to Brentford. And hopefully, for FPL reasons, it's an Ivan Toney brace.
Yeah, Brentford are just the stronger side. Everyone's favourites in this one. Out of the 4 sides that we've mentioned there, they are the strongest out of the lot. Had a really good start to the season. I'm hoping Ivan Toney can, release some of that anger and some of that vengeance after not even getting a minute through England.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's a joke that is. But yeah, we're not here to talk about that. We spoke about that. Go check out that.
He better be on the plane. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. But I don't know. He's talking about Rashford as well. Yeah, he's talking about Rashford could come back just like Eric Dyer. So we'll see. But yeah, Ivan Toney, I think he's going to have a good game. You've gone for 2-0. I'm going to go for 3-0. I know that's kind of mad because Bournemouth have been really good as well of late with Gary O'Neill. Massive credit to him for what he's working with. But I just think it'll be one of those spells for him. And then I'm going to go first for the Southampton Everton game. I've been really impressed with Frank Lampard. I'm actually converted now in terms of his managerial ability. Guys, I've been getting roasted for saying this, that I'd take him as England manager next. Still would. I think realistic. Of course, I'd rather have Graham Potter, and I probably would rather have Eddie Howe, but I can't see Eddie Howe leaving Newcastle at this point, and Graham Potter's certainly not going to leave Chelsea unless he gets sacked for England. So yeah, Frank Lampard's the next realistic option. I'd take him. Tactically versatile, plays good football, did it at Chelsea, wants to play good football at Everton, not really had the players or tools to do so. I think if you give him that, he will end up doing it, and he's performed very well. So yeah, I'm going to go with an Everton win against a struggling Southampton side. A bit like Chelsea, in fact. You don't know what they're going to be like. They're like a poor man's Chelsea, very young side. I think that's the big reason. They are the youngest or second youngest. It's them and Arsenal swapping it on week-by-week basis. I think Arsenal now the youngest because we had Ethan Nwaneri, which brought our average age down.
That's gonna fly it down, isn't it? That?
Exactly. So
an actual child.
Yeah, a literal child. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go with an Everton 2-1 win there. What about you, bro? What did you go for the Southampton Everton game?
I've gone for Everton to win 1-0.
Everton to win 1-0. Interesting there. Let's see your predictions in the chat. Get them in. And remember, if you're watching afterwards, get them into the comments as well with all of your other predictions. Rally's gone for a Brentford win, which is like everyone. Paxton, Ivan, he always says it. He's gone for a 4-goal. Yeah, maybe we'll have to get an Ivan Toney in there. I can't afford him at the moment. That's the problem. Unless I get rid of Jesus. Toney on fire. Brentford win 3-1, which is the same as David Lee has gone for as well. Paxton's gone for a 2-1 Everton win there as well. 1-1 draw between Southampton and Everton. 2-1 Everton win, it says Rally. And good shout. Lampard, England manager, better than Southgate. He's not doing good. Southgate gets booed most games. Saka at left back. What are you doing? Then he played him right wing. Should have started him. Well, anyways, Paxton saying Mark Goldbridge in.
He did all right against the Sidemen, didn't he?
Yeah. Did you see any of the highlights of that, Ed?
No, I've not watched it. I'm almost 42. I'm not going to watch. Actually, they're probably really old now, though, aren't they? The Sidemen. How old
the Sidemen. They're probably about almost 30 as well. Like they're older than me. I know that. So yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. Interesting football. Better football than
what was the score?
8-7.
Oh, wow, that's proper
shocking goalkeeping.
I can imagine.
That's how bad it was.
Oh,
I've never been a huge fan of Nick Pope. I've said it. But yeah. So we'll move on into the next games. We've got how many more have we got left to go through? We've got 1,
3,
2,
I think.
3. You know what? Should we group them together? I'm sure we can.
Yeah, why not?
Apologies, Leicester and Forrest, because, Paxton and David over there, the East Midlands, are getting a little bit of disrespect. But that's a relegation derby right there, which could be big, but, we're struggling for time. So, Fulham versus Newcastle. We've still got Leeds versus Aston Villa and Leicester City versus Forest. Ed, are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Right, I'm on the East Midlands, so let's click on it. So Leicester versus Forest, as you said, potentially a big 6-pointer. 1.26 for Leicester is their XG. Forest is at 0.8. But the average goals is expecting 3 in this game.
Ooh.
Their last 5 meetings. This is their first league fixture since 2014. So we're sort of 8 years on from Leicester getting promoted, I believe. I think that might have been the reason. Or, they got promoted the year after, maybe. Leicester's form, it's not great. 1 win, which I'm pretty sure was in the League Cup, and then 4 losses on the trot. And Forest's exactly the same. Yikes. 4 losses and 1 win for them. So that's the Leicester Forest game. We'll move on now. We'll go Leeds versus Villa. So we'll hop over to Yorkshire in the West Midlands. Last 5 meetings for these two teams are a bit up and down, with 2 losses for Leeds, 1 win for Leeds and 1 draw. The XG there for Leeds at 1.73. Villa's is at 0.94. And the average goals for this game is at 2.84. So that's this game. The form for these two teams. So home team there, Leeds, 2 losses, 2 wins and a draw. Villa, 2 losses, 2 wins and a draw. They're in slightly different order. But again, like the Leicester and Forest, they have exactly the last 5 games. And the last game to talk about is the black and white derby.
Fulham, you stole it. I was thinking that. I was running through the thieves in my head. We got the derby for this game. I was struggling with that one, and I finally thought black and white. There you go, Ed.
Yeah, so this is Fulham versus Newcastle. XG almost exactly the same, 1.41 and 1.39. I reckon that 0.02 is just Mitrovic, and the average goals is 2.84. And again, if we look at the form for both teams, very similar. Fulham are on the back of a win and 2 wins and 3 losses. And it is exactly the same for Newcastle. They're on the back of 2 wins and 3 losses. So these last 3 teams, somehow you managed to group them together. They've all got the same form guide.
Have they really? Oh, wow. See, it's like we planned it. Absolutely not. But yeah, in terms of the injuries, now you can have a drink, Ed. In terms of the injuries in the Leicester City versus Forest game, Leicester City are not it's a touch and goal whether Wilfred Ndidi or Patson Daka will be involved in that game. I'm sure if Leicester are going to try and build any momentum, they're going to really want to have both of these players. But it's very much 2 poor performing sides, so it's going to be interesting to see whether those players are fit. Are they going to make much of a difference? We know Ndidi can and Daka can, but in this current side, it's difficult to really see where they're going to do that. And then for Forest, they had a lot of injuries, and they still do have a lot of injuries. Ora Mangala, who did impress, I thought. He showed glimpses against West Ham, but then picked up an injury there. He could be back for this one, but, it's not... We'll have to wait and see. Touch and go. We're going to have to wait to hear more on Steve Cooper. Emmanuel Dennis, Morgan Gibbs-White, and Joel Worrell were all doubts going into this one. Joel Worrell is back. Emmanuel Dennis and Morgan Gibbs-White are touch and goal. And the same goes for Scott McKenna as well. I think those are some big players out for Forest. I know they've got a massive squad themselves, but these are the players that you're going to be building your side around. That defense, that continuity with Worrell and McKenna, and then their new 40-odd or however much he was in Morgan Gibbs-White in there as well. So interesting there for Leicester and Forest there. Forest need some players back. In terms of, this is the derby. I thought it was the sleeping giants derby between Leeds and Aston Villa. So I'll let you debate that, Ed, if any of those are sleeping giants. I'm sure Villa would say they are, Martin. But yeah, in terms of that, so no players that are expected to be straight back for this one, apart from Rodrigo, in fact, who had shoulder surgery. So maybe he could be back. But, when you have such shoulder surgery, it's quite difficult to make a quick bounce back. Why do I keep having Man City in my head? What is this?
Are you worried about Haaland already? It's a few weeks till you play them.
I know. We're not even playing them until next year now. So I don't know why I'm thinking about them. In Aston Villa, Matty Cash, I think that's what I was going to say initially. He could return for this one. No real news on him yet, as he missed the games previously with a hamstring strain. He'll be a massive plus for them. Bad news, though, for Aston Villa fans, I'm sure you know, is Boubacar Kamara, who's suffered knee ligament damage. No return date as of yet. So he had to withdraw from the French squad. He missed the he picked up the injury in the Southampton game, and that could put his World Cup place in jeopardy. And another Frenchman is Luca Dean, who hasn't got a return date in terms of his injury there. So it's not great at the moment for Aston Villa. It's not been great on the pitch, and it's not looking great off the pitch in terms of injuries. And for the final fixture between Fulham and Newcastle, Harry Wilson, he's not expected to be back until November. So, yeah, and the big one, and this is the big one indeed, Alexander Mitrovic is touch and go whether he's going to be fit from his ankle injury right there. No João Palhinha as well, by the way. He's picked up 5 yellow cards already in this part of the season. And the final one for Fulham is Anthony Robinson, who's also touch and go. I think those injuries and suspensions should and maybe will impact your prediction going into this one. But for Newcastle, though, they've had some injury doubts in there. Alan St-Maximin, we're not sure if he's going to be fit. Alexander Isak, who's picked up an injury. There's no return date for him as well. No Chris Woods in this game. There's also, Callum Wilson is back, but we know with him, is he going to be fit to start straight away after missing a little bit of time? Bruno Guimaraes, he's expected to be back fit though after his thigh injury. And yeah, that's quite big injury news for all these sides here. No wonder it's kind of playing into their form. But so we'll start off with which game do we start off first? East Midlands Derby.
We did the East Midlands Derby. I think I went for a 0-0.
On a Monday night? I think they're doing a watch along.
Well, it still might be interesting. It might be an interesting 0-0. I've gone for a 0-0.
0-0. You know what? I'm going for a goal scoring thriller. Yeah, let's do it. 4-3 Leicester.
I would love that. I think the thing is, it can go either. It can go either way, can't it? With these teams that are quote unquote out of form and still getting to know each other and stuff, it could just be like, why not? Why not?
Yeah,
just lay it all out there.
Yeah, it can be literally that. It depends on how both teams decide to set up. We can't defend. Let's just try and go for goals, or let's be really cagey because we're low on confidence. Who knows? I'm going to go for the other one. Yeah, just why not? Literally pure gut feeling there. And then for the next game, which was the Sleeping Giants one between Leeds and Aston Villa, I'm going to go with a Leeds win. I think Leeds have been really impressive. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Leeds win in this one. What about you, bro?
I've gone for a 1-1 in this game. I see Villa dragging something out of this game somehow.
Do you think Villa are going to try and build a little bit of momentum from that Southampton win?
They've got to, haven't they? I guess the performance against Man City, the win against Southampton, they need to build, don't they? They're all chips are all in on Gerrard, aren't they? The signings, unfortunately, have just been. They're all injured, aren't they?
They need to, but will they?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The bias part of me wants to say no, and I hope they don't. But this Leeds team can be at times toothless, depending on how Rodrigo's playing, and like you said, coming back from injury, it might be a lot to expect him to come in and hit the ground running. So there is potential that they are a little bit more defensive, which is why I'm going to go for a draw in this game.
There you go, right there. And for the final game, Fulham versus Newcastle. Teams that, a lot of bit hype has been around Newcastle. I kind of poured a bit of dampener on that in the predictions video. I don't think they have had a good start to the season at all, to be honest. But Fulham have had a good one. Those injuries are really playing on my mind. And because of that, we may see a completely different side in that 3:00 game on Saturday. But I'm going to go for a Newcastle win by 1-0. Tight game. Newcastle to win. What about you, bro?
Yep. I went for a tight game as well, but I went for a Newcastle 2-1 win.
2-1. Interesting there. And let's see what
same difference in the goals.
Let's see what your scores are in the chat right now. You guys did well to get them in. I'll really tell you about that. Big up yourself, Pax, in a Leicester 1-1 draw. Villa to win by 1-0 against Leeds. Leicester to beat Forrest, says David Lee. I went for Leicester win, but with way more goals. Big up to yourself. Yeah, why not? Big up to yourself as well, Aled in the place. Go subscribe to Klopp Talk TV. He's so good. I nearly put about 50 more L's in his name then. Aled. Big up yourself, my bro. Hope you're keeping well. Loving the stats. He's saying it. Big up yourself, my bro. And he's saying Leeds Villa 2-2 draw. So people backing Villa in here as ralliers as well, going 2-1 Villa. I'm surprised at that because Leeds have had a good start to the season, relatively.
Yeah.
Fulham winning by 2-1 against Newcastle. Interesting there, Pax. David Lee's gone for the same as Luca and as Ed with a 2-1 Newcastle win. Leicester to draw 2-2 with Forrest. I see where you're coming from, Luca. I definitely see goals in those games as well. Newcastle versus Fulham's lots of goals going 3-2. Isak might be injured, not sure if he's back, or Saint Maximan if he returns. For that reason, that's why I've gone for a low scoring game, because main forwards of each side and for Fulham forward, and he'd have a lot of incentive in this game. Actually, just sprung to mind. He used to play for Newcastle as well. So yeah, interesting there. Big up TCM in the place as well. She's like, yo, let's wrap this up now. That's what she's saying. Big up yourself, sis. I love it each time. But they're 3-2. Yeah, that in 3-2 Leicester against Forest as well. Rally saying how exciting a 0-0 draw. But guys, we have gone through all the games, all 10 Premier League games for this weekend. It's weird. Thrown us off a little bit of a schedule. We haven't done 10 for about 4 weeks because of, what happened and that. So, yeah, but big up yourself, my bro. Thank you for joining me once again. Is there anything else that you'd like to add or anything at all? You always help me reminding me these things, man. You're a legend.
Well, just comments in at the end to get your predictions in for all the games. I'll pin we'll pop the fixtures in, and if you copy and paste them and then put your predictions in, you can go into the predictions table, which is currently being won by my 7-year-old Tereak Talks, his nephew, who's got 56 points so far. Then Paxton is second with 55, and then it's me. I'm third at the moment. So that's the top 3 at the moment. So yeah, get your comments in after the video's finished. It's really good. We've got to 30 likes, which is amazing for the algorithm and pushing things out there. And it's the same with the comments. As many comments as you can. Get stuck in there with what you think of the channel, all those types of things, as well as your predictions. And I guess the big thing coming up, obviously, is we've got a month really to get prepared for the World Cup, and then it's all systems go, isn't it?
It is exactly that. I'm trying to book off annual leave as well around them times. So people, we'll stay tuned. We've got plenty more updates to come on that. But yeah, in terms of the vote and the poll that we had right here, the watch along has won 58%. You guys pull through in the end with 31 votes, with 58% going for a watch along, 42 match reactions. So still quite high, and I like that. You might see both, maybe, depending on how the game goes, I guess.
Yeah. There goes your line, though. There goes your line, getting everything set up.
Exactly. Tell me about it. It's true. But there, big up each and every one of you in the place. Thank you for joining us. You've made our evening, and hopefully we've made yours, and we've enjoyed it you've given you a little bit of an enjoyment throughout this hour, or however long you watched it, whether it's for 10 minutes, whether it's been for the whole hour and 43, like a lot of you guys have. You guys really mean a lot to me. It means the most. And thank you for all your support. And I can't thank you enough. And I'm trying to by giving you these competitions where we can get merch out for you guys. And it's not even just to sell at this point. It's just to, show my appreciation, our appreciation for being great people and just, spending time together with the wonderful thing that social media is now. I wish I could spend more, but if you keep smashing them like videos, that like button and subscribe and sharing, we can spend more time together. Exactly. But people, we are out. Love to you all, and I'll catch you soon. Come on, you Arsenal. Top of the league.